records which are not necessarily my favourites, although I love them, but they are 10 records which I think are absolutely essential to the history of the music that we now call heavy metal. Here we go. First up, Led Zeppelin 2. Their first record came out in 1969, and then it was quickly followed by Led Zeppelin 2. They had so many ideas, they had to get it all out, and they recorded most of it on the road while they were touring the States. A whole lot of love. Just seminal. What a track. Jimmy Page came along and he started using the studio as a musical instrument. They had precursors, no doubt about it, but he really took it to another level. Page, Plant, Jones, Bonham. How could you fail with such an incredible collection of musicians? Moby Dick, Bonham's drumming. Things would never be the same again in the world of rock drumming. He set a course for so many drummers. Neil Peart, Danny Carey. Secondly, Black Sabbath, Paranoid. Their first album was really ground zero as far as what we call heavy metal is concerned. But their second album, I mean, it just consolidated everything. Tony's guitar sounds, Geezer's lyrics, the way Ozzy got a song across. They really became Black Sabbath on this record. Also, one of the greatest, worst album covers of all time. Deep Purple, Machine Head. Third up, part of the Holy Trinity really, Zeppelin, Sabbath, Purple. Without Ian Gillan's Primal Screaming, no Bruce Dickinson. Massive influence, I'm absolutely convinced of that. Ritchie Blackmore, probably one of the most iconic Stratocaster sounds of all time in rock music. Rory Gallagher was pretty amazing, but on this album Blackmore reveals his the influence of Bach, his classical influence. Smoke on the Water, Highway Star, literally a driving anthem. Stick this on in your car and you're off. There's no turning back. Pedal to the Metal, 1972, and they're doing this. I mean, John Lord's organ playing, you know. We've recently had some amazing keyboard playing with Mastodon, and I think Lord's Hammond organ playing is the template for rock organ. Ian Pacey's drumming, musical, muscular, just the perfect accompaniment to the songs. Hopping over the Atlantic for a bit of California love. Montrose, their first album, the record that introduced the world to Sammy Hagar and Sammy Hagar to the world. And I suppose many would argue that it's got nothing to do with metal whatsoever, but they were happening in the States at the same time. Kiss were happening, they toured together. Ronnie Montrose, what a fantastic guitar player, another underrated genius in my opinion. Space Station Number 5, Rock Candy, Bad Motor Scooter, just some rocking tracks. I mean, put this on in 1977 when I was really getting into rock music and everybody would be up headbanging. Ted Templeman, producer, of course went on to produce Van Halen and had massive success with them. They're pivotal, really. They're at the point where the blues-based rock of Led Zeppelin was becoming much more commercial and shinier. There was a touch of sci-fi about it as well, which is definitely a theme we'll come on to in a little while. R.I.P. Ronnie Montrose, he was taken from us much too early. I just think what a great album. Today's the 2nd of September, but as of the 27th of August, we just celebrated Alex Lifeson's birthday, and I'm celebrating Rush's, I suppose, their breakthrough record, 2112. And where's the metal in this? Well, for me it's about the prog rock aspect, or smashing up against the guitar riffing of the highest order. Dystopian, a future where music is banned, etc, etc. If you don't know the story of 2112 and the controversy over Neil Peart's interest in Canadian writer Ayn Rand, then check it out, check online, it's a very interesting story. But 2112, epic in scale. Without 2112 I don't think we'd have things like Crack the Sky. Huge influence on the Masto Boys. How can three guys make so much fucking noise? I was lucky enough to see Rush 4 times, but I saw them back in the 70s on the All the World's a Stage tour at Birmingham Odeon, and Birmingham Odeon is just a place of great fame, and the incredible bands that played there. You've got to take your hats off to Rush. I recently looking up their tour schedules over their 40-year career, and man, they put in some work. Absolutely incredible. And if you want to talk about what it takes to be that kind of band who gets out there and pleases their fans, then their tour schedule is an absolute example of how hard a band can work and just be successful with their core fans, still be ignored by the critics. But it's only recently that their importance has been recognised, I think, with their induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Blah 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 blah. Rush 2112, essential. Van Halen. I actually cried when I first heard the Van Halen album. My mate Paul had been into Birmingham, and I guess he'd gone to Virgin Records or HMV, and he'd got a copy of Van Halen 1, as it's come to be known, I guess. And he rang us all, we were quite a large group of buddies back then, and he said, come round to mine, I've got this incredible record. And we just shot round there because we'd kind of heard about it. Our knowledge of music at the time was pretty much through music press, I guess, Sounds, New Musical Express, Melody Maker, which are all published on I think they were all published on a Thursday, and I used to buy all 3 of them and hungrily, voraciously consume all of the latest music news. So we went round to Paul's, and he went, listen to this, and he played us Eruption, and it brought a tear to my eye. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and I'm pretty sure that most people on hearing Van Halen 1, especially back in the day, were very moved by it and couldn't really understand necessarily what they were hearing, because Hendrix had been a pyrotechnic guitar player, but this was taking it to a new level. There were techniques that we couldn't believe weren't a synthesizer. We had nothing to gauge it against at the time, and Eddie just really changed things in the world of guitar music. And I think Van Halen as a band, I think they were special. I don't think we'd necessarily heard anything like them before. As I said, their producer Ted Templeman, who was instrumental, pretty much literally in the career of Montrose. I think he created a template with the Montrose record and with other acts that he was working with at the time. They burst onto the LA music scene, pretty explosively. But the fact is, their career, it took a while to take off. They'd been working the bars as a young band for a long time and playing covers, and there are plenty of photographs of them playing dive bars and hanging around the LA music scene. But I think with Van Halen 1, things changed up several gears then. And look at the inspiration that Eddie Van Halen has triggered in guitar players. Guitar playing became something else. I think he pretty much revitalised the art of guitar, of electric guitar playing in a rock sense. Zakk Wylde owes a debt of gratitude. Steve Vai owes a debt of gratitude. So many players who have taken Eddie's template and expanded on it in their own style. But if he hadn't kicked things off, people were doing that tapping style previously, but nobody had ever done it with such power and grace and aplomb and theatricality. Because that's another thing with Van Halen. They were a theatrical band. I didn't get Kiss, but I got Van Halen. There was a similar strength of character. They had a real character, that band, and it really came across in all their videos. It came across in their music. and their albums continued to be groundbreaking, I suppose. You always looked forward to the new Van Halen release. I loved Van Halen 2, Spanish Fly. Women and Children First, what a great record that was. I still have that on vinyl. Through to, I think, Fair Warning. Van Hagar didn't really captivate me. And Van Halen kind of dropped off my radar. Fair Warning, which was, for me, was the last album of theirs that really, that defined what Van Halen became, really. It's a darker record. But Van Halen 1, it broke that mould. It took that mould out into the yard and smashed it to bits with a Chuck Jones Acme 1 ton weight. And things would never be the same again. Gotta love me some Judas Priest. Rob Halford's changed his look a little bit over the years. So with Black Sabbath are the mom and dad of heavy metal. Judas Priest are the naughty uncle. Don't mind him, it's alright. It's just your Uncle Bob. When Killing Machine came out, I think a lot of people who called our music rock music or hard rock went, maybe there's something to this heavy metal thing. Because the aforementioned Sounds magazine, under the guidance of a journalist called Jeff Barton and his oppo Malcolm Dome and several others, the new wave of British heavy metal became a thing. Def Leppard, Saxon and Samson and Iron Maiden and Diamond Head, Tigers of Pantang. Quite a lot of new bands broke through at that point. I mean, this is the very late 70s, early to mid 80s, where this was really a thing, and it led to the creation of Kerrang! Magazine, which really supported the genre, and things just took off from there. Venom, not forgetting Venom. Killing Machine. I just recently bought this copy on vinyl, and I had an MP3 download as well, and I went, okay, when am I going to get the chance to listen to this? Because sitting down and listening to music like I used to, just sit there with the album and look at the cover and listen to the music and read the lyrics and really get into it, man. That's just not a thing that really happens anymore. So I put the headphones on, fired up the MP3 on player, and it took my breath away. The production, the playing, Rob Halford, what a voice. KK and Glenn Tipton, what a pair of incredible guitar players. And then, you know, after all these years, being able to say who the bass player and drummer were with Judas Priest is not an easy thing, because they had some exploding drummers, and I think they had some bass players who came and went. I'll put their names up on the screen. But my brother and I went to see the taping of a local music show in the Midlands in Birmingham called Look Here, which was hosted by a local DJ and entrepreneur, music entrepreneur, manager, who managed one of my friend's bands, Chris Phipps, and the amazing Toya Wilcox hosted Look Here, and we had a friend at the BBC Pebble Mill, which was the Birmingham studios. Dave was a floor manager there, and he got us tickets to go to, me and my brother, tickets to go and see the taping of Look Here, because we expected that Judas Priest were going to be in the studio, and they weren't. They were on tape. So we sat there dutifully in our nice jumpers and watched this tape of Judas Priest doing possibly something off Killing Machine on a monitor screen. Bit of a letdown, but you know, there you go. It's all part of my my Rob Halford mythology. Judas Priest, heavy metal's ground zero +1, foster father to the new wave of British heavy metal. Up next, Motorhead, and I'll be quite honest, I don't know this album as well as I should, but I've got to get some Motorhead in there, because the attitude, the speed freakery, the blood, the guts and the beer and the sheer volume, the punk attitude. Well, Motorhead are the heavy metal band that it's okay for punks to like. And you honestly couldn't talk about the history of heavy metal music, certainly in this country, without talking about Motorhead. One of the loudest bands, one of the most charismatic. Lemmy was just a hero to so many, and he's sadly missed. And another son of the Midlands, recently unveiled as a hugely well received monument to Lemmy in his hometown of Burslem in Stoke-on-Trent. They've put up a statue to him, and the statue has even got some of his ashes in it. The man was a force of nature and utterly unique in his bass playing. He played his bass, his Rickenbacker bass, like a rhythm guitar, through a full stack of Marshall amplifiers on full twat, and like a hurricane, like a tornado, like an earthquake, like a volcano, like a tsunami. Just a powerhouse of music, a force to be reckoned with. Motorhead. Fuck yeah! Salut maintenant. Le band de rock tastique. Trust et répression. Maybe a bit left field, but that's probably appropriate, given the socialist nature of French politics. But Trust, great friends with AC/DC, English lyrics written by Jimmy Percy, so there's that punky connection. But Repression, just what a riff, what a song. It just powers along like crazy, and they influenced something. Metallica played Trust songs. Just proof that politics can stand in heavy metal music, because they were righteous bunch of motherfuckers. But Repression, just download it, just listen to it, just buy it. You'll know when you hear it just how important it is. Oui, madame. Just had to rush out to the car to get that. It's raining at the moment. Finally, we come on to the mighty Mastodon. First thing I ever heard, I think, was Curl of the Burl. Came across it on YouTube. Just kind of random sampling tunes. I thought that sounds interesting. There's humour. It's pretty dark. Once More Around the Sun. High Road. What? Look what else is in there. Dirty Deeds and Done Dirt Cheap. High Road. What a riff. One of Kelleher's best. And Skinner's artwork. It doesn't get much more metal than that, really, does it, for monstrous artwork. My partner Helen absolutely hates that image, but I think it's just fantastic. Once More Around the Sun. I mean, that title alone just connects with me. Talking about time passing, and here we are again. Are we doing the same old things? Well, tread lightly. The Motherlode, High Road, Once More Around the Sun, Chimes at Midnight, Sleep in the Deep, Feast Your Eyes, Aunt Lisa, Ember City, Halloween, and Diamond in the Witch House. Even real dedicated Masto fans kind of look at this album and go, oh, it's not Mastodon, they've just changed, it's too brand singing too much, it's not too commercial. But it sounds like Mastodon to me. Every single one of Mastodon's records sounds like Mastodon. And this is a fantastic example of that. How they've evolved over the years, how they've changed their sound and stayed the same. That's a thing, isn't it? How do you change and stay the same? They've stayed recognisable. The riffs, the production, there's just the sound of it. One of my all-time favourite records is Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, because I bought that in 1975 when it came out, and I listen to it today, and there's still things on it that I hear that I just go, what? I don't remember hearing that. And it's the same with this record as well. You can listen to this time and time again, and there's the stuff you go, I don't remember hearing that before. Wow. But the vocal deliveries, and Brent's guitar playing on here, this was the first time I really kind of realised just how deviously clever and emotionally engaging Brent Hines' guitar playing was. You're listening to the track and you're thinking, it's building, something's going to happen. And then suddenly the guitar's there and you don't even notice that it's coming, but it's just there and it's lifting you and it's giving you more of the same thing. If you want an album by a band that just keeps giving more and more, Mastodon, once more around the sun. Here we go. Ha, cousin Silence, that thou hadst seen that this night and I have seen. Ha, Sir John, said I well? We have heard the chimes at midnight, Master Robert Shallow. That we have, in faith. Sir John, we have. Jesu, the mad days that I have seen, and to think how many of my old acquaintances are dead. We shall all... Certain. 'Tis certain, death, as the psalmist saith, it's certain to all shall die.